Welcome to another episode of Out There with Johnny. Today, got a little surprise for you, but before we jump into that, and the teaser actually kind of showed that a little bit, but before I get into that, I want to talk about my setups and how, just to get ready for EAA or astrophotography, some of the things, some of the challenges that you put up with essentially to do this kind of a hobby. And what I want to show you is everything you see here before you, all of this is for me to have to use to go set up for EAA or astrophotography. If I travel, all this has to go with me. If I'm at home and I set it all up in the garage and I just carry it out to the yard, that's a little bit different. Depending on the size of telescope I use, I might have to add more weight to the equatorial mount. It gets heavier and uncomfortable to walk around or to carry around as well. So what this is, just to give you an idea, a very typical setup is you've got the telescope itself, which is this here. This is only a 71 millimeter William Optics GT71. There are much larger telescopes, so the complexity of carrying becomes greater, if you want to put it that way. Then you have the mount itself. This is a Ioptron 25 Sim P. It comes with the weights inside, the mount hit, everything, and the weights are 10 pounds a piece. So between the mount and the weight and the case or the else, this probably weighs pretty close to about 30 pounds or so, if that much. Then you have all the gear to make it work. So the ASI Air Plus is in here, the cameras are in here, all the connections and cables, and everything I need to put the camera equipment onto the telescope. Then you have to power it. That comes down to the battery. Now there's different batteries. People do different things because I use battery for a lot of my stuff. This is actually a lithium-ion 60 amp hour battery, 12 volt system, because I also use it with my trolling motors on my SUP and so forth and so on. But it also powers my astronomy. But because it's a lithium ion, it's only 15 pounds, so it's nothing to carry this around. But it's convenient because I have plugs to plug in, auxiliary plugs, so forth and so on both sides. It's a nice case to have for that. And then along with all of this, you have the tripod, and depending on the model, make, so forth on and so forth, the tripods can be pretty substantial. The tripods can be very substantial. This is the one that comes with the particular mount I have. It's a 2-inch tripod with an extended head on it, so that my refractors don't hit the tripod if I'm going too high of an angle. But as you can hear and probably saw, it's got a bit of a heft to it. All of this has to fit in the car. It has to fit in the truck, the trailer if we go camping. A lot of this you have to put up with. Now, I've done this for years and years and years and years. This is what it's always been, with very few changes along the way, other than things get lighter. Like, for instance, this head, I can go up to 25 pounds for viewing, for EAA. Not so much for AP, for vibrations. EA is a little bit more forgiving. But I had heads that used to weigh 60 pounds, just the head, not counting everything else. I've had telescopes that weigh over 100 pounds when you put them all together. Not something that you lightly take camping with you and set up and move and tear down each night, depending on what type of camping you're doing. Now, star parties are a little bit different. Everybody sets their things up, and they leave them out there overnight, usually cover them with a tarp or something like that. But when you're just camping in general, public camping areas, you typically don't want to do that. At least I haven't wanted to do that. So you break it down, or you move it someplace where it's safe, or you partial break down and put it back together every single night. So, and because I primarily do EAA, I lived with it for years, and it worked. And I kept trying to find simpler ways to do things. So what's out there now that simplifies this even greater? Let me set up and I'll show you. Okay, I'm back. Remember all this that was up here? Let me show you something a little different. Unistellar. They've taken all of that equipment you saw stacked up here and condensed it down to something very simplistic and very awesome. They've taken a 114 millimeter reflector. The secondary mirror has been replaced by a Sony imaging chip. Good tripod, and all you need is your cell phone, and you're off and running, and you're doing EAA. And gateway to astrophotography. And I mean gateway. There's a lot of guys out there who's been really deep in astrophotography for years, and they're going to tell you this is not astrophotography. And in its truest form, no, it's not. It is closer to EAA, in my opinion, than it is to astrophotography. But it's definitely a gateway to get there. And there's guys that'll tell you that if you want to do EAA, there's cheaper options out there. But again, you're doing what I had out here. You got a separate telescope, you got a separate camera, you've got your tripod, you've got your battery, computer, tablet, phone, whatever you use. You get all this equipment you got to kludge together to do it. This, not so much. Well, let me show you. So we're going to open up this backpack that you don't have to get with it, but I chose to. Inside, you have the telescope. It's all one piece. The drive, everything's here. The mount, it's all one piece. Camera's up here, one piece. We set this down to the side. The next piece you want is your tripod. Here. This replaces everything you saw on the table before. It's got its own battery, its own processor, its own camera, the telescope, drive system, guide system. It doesn't really guide, but the tracking, everything is here in one piece. And the tripod. Now this is an alt-as, so it's going to be very short iterations as it gathers light and starts stacking them. It does its own stacking, everything. And it does a marvelous job. I've already had it out. I've tested it. I've got like 67 different captures with it, playing around with it, trying to get a good feel for it. For some of the settings, it does have minimalistic manual settings you can do, but they work quite well. I have been extremely, extremely impressed with this. And again, it's not astrophotography. You're not going to see those high resolution, detailed, beautiful photos you see on AstroBin or even just normal astrophotography from other websites. It's more akin to EAA, but what you can see is absolutely wonderful. And I tell you the truth, when I travel, this is what I'm taking with me. I'm not taking all that stuff with me. This is what's going. Here's the other cool thing about this. It links up to 10 phones or tablets, whether it's Android or Apple or a mixture thereof, at a time. What a great thing for outreaches. What a great thing for star parties. My intention is to share this, go to some schools, arrange some star parties, let them see this, let the kids come out, use their phones or their parents' phones, and capture some of their own images. There's a lot of potential for this. Just one of these in a school, in their science program, would open up a lot of doors. You can still put a solar filter on the front of this and do solar in the daytime during a class. There's a lot of potential here, a lot of potential. And it's a gateway to get people back into astronomy, young people into astronomy that's never been there. Yes, it's costly. It does cost around $3,000 for the eQuinox version, which is what I have now. But you know, if you go out and spend all the money, you could spend less than $3,000 to get an EAA. But again, you've got this kludge of stuff. You've got to get it all to work together. This is true plug and play. So let me, real quick, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to move my table. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to show you how it sets up on a tripod and do some quick operations. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to share some of the things that I have taken with this telescope specifically, with this unit. And then on a clear night, we're going to do a live session, and you're going to see the telescope in operation, and you're going to see the display that I'm using to capture these images. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this. I know I find this thing just phenomenal to use, because there are nights when I only have 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour at the most to be able to do anything because it's a work night. And I used to dread, or just find myself not wanting to do it because I didn't want to set up all that other stuff. I have to do a polar alignment and all that, to get everything going. That's all gone. I'm up and capturing something in 10 minutes or less. And in the next 30 minutes, I may get 2 or 3 objects done, depending how long I want to integrate. So give it some thought. I mean, if you're kind of on the fence about wanting to do something like this, and and yes, it is about $3,000. I understand that, but if it's something that really pipes your interest, it's worthwhile. It really is. This could be the thing that you could stay with for years before you move on to something else. I equate it to buying like a very expensive DSLR. Granted, it's a one-trick pony. It's like a DSLR. You can do a multitude of things. But if you really, this gives you a lot of nights out there under the stars, camping, trips you take. I can't say enough good things about this. I have not had this under dark skies yet. Here, what you're going to see at the end of this video is the results from a Bortle 8 sky shooting across a well-lit schoolyard sitting under a street lamp. Now, granted, I've got to kind of point it away from the street lamp, but it gives you an idea of the light pollution that I'm dealing with, that this thing's dealing with as well. It is made and touted for its capability to deal with light pollution. I have another place that's out in Bortle 2 skies in West Texas. I can't wait to get it out there because I'm sure it'll just be totally phenomenal out there. So let me stop this video. Let me get it all set up for the next round. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start with a tripod first. So it is specifically made for the telescope. You're not going to be able to use it for another camera or whatever. It's a very stable, very robust tripod. Now, there's been some talk about the rubber feet on it giving vibrations and so forth and so on, because they do have rubber feet, as you can see here. I have yet to see a problem with those feet. I've also heard that some people have had some issues with it in windy nights. I've had some breezy nights, but not windy nights, and I haven't really noticed any severe issues with it. I have, however, noticed that it's very sensitive to clouds. So if there's a very light, thin layer of clouds, it tends to struggle a little bit more in knowing where it's at and doing plate solving, because yes, it does do plate solving internally. So one of the things you want to do is it does come with a leveler. And then one of the things you want to do is you want to level it. My house is pretty level. That's a good thing. And then you notice here that I have 2 knobs and then just a center ring here. What you're going to do is you're going to take the telescope itself. This is the base. It has this ring here. You're going to set it in here like so. And then you're going to tighten these down. Now, you don't want to over tighten it because you don't want to strip anything out. Just snug to hold it in place. And then the telescope is in place, ready to go. Here's your on-off switch. That's all you do. One button, it powers up, it synchronizes, your phone will recognize it, and you're ready to go. So you press it down, light comes to purple, and then as it syncs everything up, it's going to turn red when it's ready to go. There, red, that quick. Then you're going to take your phone, and in this case I have the new flip phone, so I like having this nice big screen. And then you're going to go to an app. Let's see if I can get this up here. You're going to go to an app that's called, where is it at? Unistellar. You're going to install it on your tablet or your phone. And then you're going to press that. And it's going to come up and it's going to start looking for it. It says right now I'm not connected because right now it's not seeing the Wi-Fi. This actually generates Wi-Fi. It's not Bluetooth, it is Wi-Fi. Okay, so I'm going to go manually connect it. Let me take care of that. So you're going to come up with some stuff that says, you know, eVscope and then some numbers beside it, behind it. You're going to use those. That's what you're going to connect to. Then you're going to go back to your app. Now it sees it and it's ready to go. Now what's weird about this on this fold is it puts the joysticks down here. It's really small to see. I actually have to turn it to get a larger joystick so I can kind of see what I'm doing. I'll have this better situated when we go live one night when I have a clear night. But here's your eVscope here. And so you can see it over here. I could take this joystick, essentially, drive the scope down, and you should be able to see it going down. And then you drive it left and right, whichever direction you need to go. And if you take this yellow and drag it all the way over, either way or up or down, that gets max speed. Or you can just touch the arrows and it'll slowly bump it. Now, once you've got it, now here's the thing. All you need to do is if you know the general direction of what you want to look at, you move the scope to that general direction. And then you can hit manual track if it's got something to track. If there's extra stars, of course it's capped. I'm up in the studio, so it's not going to see anything. It'll start tracking something. Now, when you're ready to actually go look at something, you're going to go to your Explore button, and it's going to show you a bunch of different stuff. It's going to show you recommended because it knows it's the brightest thing in your area. It's going to go in current constellation you're looking at, knowing its position, what's fading soon, what's ascending soon. These will break up the galaxies, nebulas, clusters, stars, planets. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not that great on planets. It really wasn't built for planets. Jupiter does really well because it's so bright and much larger, but the other things, not really so much. But it will point to them, and you can make out the fact that it's a planet, but don't expect a lot of details. And then you can actually go to manual drive it to places that you want to go to, that you know their locations. Like if you're using Sky Safari Pro, you get an RA or an Alt-Az coordinates off of that. You type it in here manually, and the scope will go there, and it'll track. You go to the third button. This is where you go into sharing the scientific part of this. Then this button here shows you all the photos that's in your current gallery, which you can see I've taken quite a few. And then you go to the personal one here. Now this is where you can upload data to like SETI or to the database. It gives you your battery status. It tells you the SSID that you're connected to. Take a dart frame. This is very important. Before you start a session, take a dart frame. It helps it. It actually uses it when it goes and does its stacking. Highly recommended. And then park my eVscope. So when you're done for the night, always park it because it puts it in a position to be stored and safely carried around, so forth and so on. I recommend that you always park it. If we go back to here now, again, you have you're back to driving it, and you would see stars here as if it wasn't capped. Now, that's pretty much a quick show on the app. You'll see it more in detail when we do the live, because I'll actually be using it and you'll see things as they appear on the screen. But what I do want to show you now is I'm going to take it, I'm going to drive it down here a little bit more and drive it over. It's not really real fast, but it's okay. This is where you go make yourself a sandwich and come back. And she's coming, and she's coming, and she's coming. Okay, bring it down a little bit more. Over, whoops, wrong way. Okay, now you're looking pretty much down the tube. So here's the cap. We're going to take this off. And very much like a Newtonian, it's got the spider here. Instead of a secondary mirror here behind this, you actually have a camera. But here's the cool thing that they do. If I take this, pop it off, they give you a bat lift mask, which is a great aid in focusing. Great aid in focusing. And then this bat laugh mask, when you're not using it, you just stick it in like that. And you're good to go. Now I'm going to cover this because it really doesn't like these bright lights. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to manually flip this tripod around, because I don't want to take all the time to flip it around so you can see the back side of it. Let's get it this way. There we go. Okay. We're going to drive it down a little bit more. This is maybe hard to see because it's so dark. But there's a big knob right here. That's your focusing knob. Then you have your collimation screws here, and you can actually take these 4 screws here. I know it's hard for you guys to see right now, but you can actually remove this entire mirror cell to clean, so forth and so on. Collimate here, focus here. Now, what I've noticed is just carrying it to and from out of the garage or out of the house into the driveway or wherever, the collimation stays really well and the focus stays very well. But traveling, more bumping, more whatever, it may knock things out a little bit. So you always want to check your collimation and your focusing before you start for the night, especially collimation. And they have very good tutorials online, as well as on some manuals that'll help you with that as well. So that is, and then like I said, at the end of your session, when you're all done, again, you go back to this people icon and you hit park my scope, and it's going to put it in the park position. And then that's it. This is all there is to this telescope. And like I said, I've already had it out a few nights, and I've seen it's just done a great job. I'm going to start populating my AstroBin account with the eVscope results. I've already put a couple up there showing some pre and post processing with photos out of this. And they're not bad. They're not the high resolution quality you see a lot of on AstroBin, but EAA is becoming a very recognized a way of doing astrophotography or using astronomy technology. Cloudy Nights Forums has recognized EAA for a long time, and it's really grown a lot over the years. And AstroBin has now recognized EAA as a viable source of posting images. And so when you put up EAA photos, you can actually click the tab to classify it as EAA. So that's it in a nutshell. I just want to make this a quick video to show you the new scope, the simplicity of it compared to what I've been dealing with, what everybody deals with. And I'm telling you, when I go on my trips from now on, this single backpack this is all I need. I no longer need to carry all that other stuff. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop using the other stuff. I still want high resolution photos. I still want to do really deep sky stuff. You got to remember, this is only 114 millimeters. 450, I believe, is the focal length. I could be wrong. I have to go back and look, but it's so it does have its limitations, like any other telescope, depending on what type it is. But for outreach, for schools, for people who's never even seen stuff like that, doing it in near real time for people to see it, it's amazing what people, say when they see something like that for the first time. And especially when you can link up to 10 phones or 10 tablets, either Google or Apple, intermixed, doesn't matter, having them all linked up. And these kids, or adults for all that matters, seeing it on their own device and capturing it on their own device is an amazing thing. And they link up for science projects, the SETI, so forth and so on. You can actually get involved with science studies. Asteroids, for instance. There was a team of people that had these that got together, and through the being world, wide triangulation and so forth and so on, NASA was actually able to determine the actual size of the asteroid, and it was bigger than they thought. So, and no danger, just again identifying an asteroid and getting more data on it. There are more of us out there that any government-funded agency has the ability to go out and track and do. So they're tapping into the amateur astronomy world to get data, and being part of that is rather exciting. Imagine a school being a part of that. That would be very cool. So anyway, it's my introduction to the Unistellar telescope. I'll post up some photos showing you what I captured so far, and then when we have a good clear night, we'll be out there in real time showing you on the screen, much like I did with the ASI Air Plus, walking you through it and letting you watch something come up on the screen in near real time. With that, have a pleasant day, and I will see you out there.